brushes. And then I'm going to tell you what the names of them are, and I'm also going to describe to you what these brushes can do. So I'm going to start off with a flat brush. I am painting on a Frederick's pad of paper, and as you can see, they're just multiple sheets of canvas. They work out, I mean, I'm up in Canada, so they work out to about $2.50 a sheet. Or you can go to the dollar store and buy some cheap canvas from there. And then when you do that, make sure that you prep it beforehand. What I've done here is I have double loaded my brush. This is called a double load. One color on one side, one color on the other. Now I come to my palette and I push back and forth. I do have a little bit of extender because I'm painting on the raw canvas and I haven't prepped it. Probably should have, but I didn't. Now I'm going to show you what a flat brush can do. If you stand on the chisel edge and slightly lean towards 12 o'clock, the handle, and pull towards you, you can make different size strokes with this brush depending on how hard and how far you push the handle away from you. I don't know if I told you, but this is a number 16. When you are loading your brush, you don't have to keep going to the palette. This is a lot of paint is right here. So don't waste this paint. Don't think, oh gee, I gotta go back here, I gotta pick up more paint. You don't have to do that. Back and forth. Again, chisel edge, tip it back, and pull. Pardon me. Chisel edge, tip it back, and pull. Okay? With a straight brush, you can also do chisel edge, lean over, and pull up. You can do single stroke leaves. You can do the Donna Dewberry wiggle leaf. Bring it, everything starts on a chisel, everything ends on a chisel. Doesn't matter what kind of painting you're doing, they all work that way. Remember, always pull your stem into the piece, never out. If you go out, it's thick and then ends, that's not very good, ends thinner. And if you think of real nature, it doesn't look like that. So remember, all your stems are from outside and pull in. So it does not matter what size of brush you were using. Any one of these, which are all flats, will do exactly what I just did. If you don't have enough paint on your brush, your bristles will splay open. And I'll show you what that means. So I'm going to come and pick up some red and some yellow, and I'm going to come up here. Again, I'm still double loading. So let me just create a few strokes here just to get some of the paint off. I don't know if I can do it because maybe I've blended this too well. But when I mean splayed open, I'm talking about when the bristles are apart like this. You don't have enough paint on your brush. You need to have at least 3/4 of the brush full of paint. So that's a really important thing to do. If you're doing one stroke, folk art paint is the best to use that for because it's much, much thicker. The Americana paint is a lot thinner. So just keep that in mind. If you look at my curly Q video, you will see how I explain using a script liner how many times to go into Americana, the water, and how many times I explain to go into the folk art paint. I'm going to go on now to a Filbert brush. A Filbert brush is a little bit more expensive because they're rounded at the end. They come in all different sizes. You can also get a Rake Filbert brush. So what a rake is, it sort of looks like this. It has teeth at the end of the brush. So if you were doing fur, feathers, you would want to use a rake brush. I'm going to show you now how to load a Filbert. I'm going to come here and I'm going to load one side with purple, and I'm going to flip my brush over and I'm going to load the other side in red. So this is what we call a fully load on this side and a fully load on the red side, white side. I'm going to take the brush, I'm going to lay it here, and you start from the outside and you push and you lift and you do a slight half turn so that you finish on the chisel edge, which creates a point. So it makes a pretty teardrop. I'm going to go back again like I did before, one side in purple, another side in white. Coming back over here, I'm going to create another one right there. Again, I'm picking up more paint. So you can come along and you can create daisies like this, as well as using your, now that one's much too long. So to fix that, and that's what I like to show my students, you would create another flower right there. And another one here. I like to do 12, 3, 6. Kind of gives me my placement. Then I can come back and fill in. Because I have the purple to the top here, I'm getting more purple. Where if I flipped it the other way, I would have more white. So if you wanted to create a hydrangea flower with a filbert, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Make sure when you're painting, a lot of students are afraid to do this, overlap. By overlapping, you make it look like it's real nature, because when you go out and look at a real flower or anything that's nature related, they're always overlapping. When you're finished, just dot your centers. I like to use a script to dot my centers, so then it gives it a more natural look. It's not a perfectly round circle. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, you can still use the end of your brush like I just did. The Filbert brush comes in many, many, many different sizes. So depending on the work that you're doing, you decide what size of brush you want. I have a large Filbert here that if I'm doing a faux finish, this is the one that I like to use because it doesn't leave a straight, rigid line as I'm crisscrossing and blending my things in. I'm going to slightly turn my paper because this is a big pad of paper and I don't want to waste. The next brush that we're going to talk about is an angle brush. So these are two angle brushes and they're both different. You'll see one has white bristles and one has a golden color. If you're painting on glass or ceramic, you want to use a brush with white bristles. When I first learned how to paint on glass, I thought, oh, there can't be that much of a difference. There is. The white bristles are much, much softer. They don't leave streaking, whereas the golden, it does. So do yourself a favor, pick up white bristle brushes for painting on glass or for painting on ceramic. So now because I'm painting on the canvas, I'm not going to use the white bristle brush. I'm going to go ahead and use my golden brush. So I always like to wet my brushes before I start. I guess I should have told you that in the beginning. On an angled brush, I don't know which way is the best way for you to see this. There is a toe and there is a heel. Look, there's a toe and there's a heel. Usually the lighter color goes on the toe and the darker color goes on the heel. You can create many things with an angle brush. So again, I'm going to go into my purple and my white and I'm going to come here back and forth. I'm loading. This is a double load. Go slow if you're new to this brush, because if you don't, this is called traveling. So what I've done is I've contaminated my beautiful white that was here to start with. Now if you want a lighter mauve transition, that's fine, but then make sure that you just dip in so that it's just a little bit darker, or lighter I should say, than the mauve to start with. Okay? Again, I'm going to come up here. If you start your brush on an angle and pull, you can create beautiful leaves with this, and end with a point, pull in your stem. It would make beautiful bamboo leaves. You can wiggle with this brush. When I'm doing my roses, and please check my video on roses, I base coat the center color in first. But you can come back, and this is called a chop stroke. So if you see, my brush is not really coming off the paper. It's a bouncing motion. I'm not wiggling it. I'm literally bouncing the brush down, up, leaving it on, down, up, leaving it on. What's nice with this brush, it gives it the illusion that you have wiggled it. If you feel more comfortable, you can come off and then go back. The nice thing with an angle brush is anything, it makes beautiful comma strokes. You finish, you can't help but not make a mistake. So when I'm creating my roses, and I'm coming in here, like so, and I come back here, I can come right up on that chisel edge. And that's the beauty of an angle brush. When you're creating roses, always, this is called the cup, and then down here is called the saucer, because if you really think about it, there's the saucer. Some people will refer to these as bunny ears. Some people will refer to these comma strokes as handles. Either way, that's what it is. If you accidentally come here and go in there and you have now ruined your cup, you come back with fresh paint on your brush and put that cup back in. The cup is the most important part. So like I say, beautiful comma strokes, not difficult. And remember, when I'm doing my roses, they are already all base coated in here. So this is already all filled in with the darker color. So then as I'm creating these strokes, I don't have to worry about, oh gee, I missed. I'll give you an example. If I come in here and put my last comma stroke in there, I have a big void. So that's why I like to have this all filled in. But that's your own preference. We are now going to move on to a dagger brush. Again, different makes. And this is what a dagger looks like. Again, not an inexpensive brush, but notice the angle of a dagger brush. Not quite as severe as the angle on an angle brush. Loading is the same thing. So I'm going to take this brush, I'm going to dip the heel of this brush into the purple. I'm going to dip the toe into the white and come here and go nice and slow. If you can hear my music in the background, it's waves crashing. No, I don't live on the ocean. It's just a video. Somebody said to me that my first videos that I did didn't have any talking or music or anything, and I said no, I was trying to concentrate on learning how to get this all put together. So from now on, you'll hear me talk. You will never see my face. It's not important what I look like. What's important is what I'm showing you here on the surface. Dagger brush. Same kind of leaf. Touch, pull. Touch, pull. Beautiful, beautiful leaves are created with a dagger brush. A little trickier to load because the bristles are longer. If you don't have a dagger brush, you don't have to worry about it because you can use your angle brush like what I used up there. Okay, so again, that was a double load. Dark into the heel, light into the toe. This is called a dagger brush. So let's go into a round brush. They come in different sizes. These are Maureen McNaughton's round brushes, and I absolutely love these brushes. There's a huge difference in quality. The more expensive of a brush, the better it's going to work for you. If you're starting off and you're new, you can buy inexpensive brushes, but you're going to be frustrated because it's not going to give you the look that you really want to have. Loading a round brush, you are taking the brush and you're pulling it into the paint. I'm going to hold this really up close. Don't spin the brush. Turn it 1/4. Turn it another quarter. Turn it another quarter. If you spin it like this and pull it to a point, you are going to have a very difficult time splaying the bristles open because the bristles now have all twisted together. So my brush now is fully loaded. To get it to a chisel edge, I'll come over here and I come back to a point. Now I'm going to come here in the white and I'm going to dip in my color. I have a little bit of white here. If you really want to see the white, just circle it and you're ready to paint. Again, you come, you touch, and you pull, and you lift. You touch, you pull, and you lift. If you're a person that doesn't like to use a flat brush to do your leaves, this makes incredible leaves. If you're going to be pulling in your stem with this round brush, you have to make sure you see how it's splayed open, so it's giving you a chisel edge. I'm going to show you something else that's very neat with the round brush. I'm going to wipe off the excess. I'm going to go back again in the purple like I did in the beginning that I showed you, and I'm going to dip into my white. Now, if you take this brush and you place it here, tip the handle. This is what we call splaying open the brushes. So I'm wiggling this left to right. So if you notice, these bristles are really, really, really opening up. Now I can pull back and I can create a stroke. But the really nice thing that you can do with a round brush, and I really don't know if you can do it with any other, is you're going to touch, you're going to splay open the brushes, the bristles, you're going to push it up, and now you're going to pull back. You're going to wipe off the excess on paper towel so that we don't contaminate the white that we already have on our palette and our purple. You're going to come back. So when you're doing this stroke, you're not starting here splaying it out and pushing, because now the petal's going to end up way over here. You're going to come back here, touch, splay this open, push up, and pull back. I didn't have enough paint on my brush. Touch, push, push, and open. Come back in. You can come in, pull some strokes, make sure everything pulls to the center, place, twist, push, and pull. And that would be your stem. And if I was going to add leaves, I would add leaves here, and I'd add a leaf here. Don't do this. Always leave your leaves just a little bit away from your stem, because now you would come back with inky paint, so that's going into the water 2 times for the Americana paint, 1 time into folk art paint, and you would come up the stem and then curve that in. Now I pushed that way too hard. It should be right up on the chisel edge. This is not right. The look that you're looking for is a leaf. Here's the stem. Let's correct this a little bit. Come here, right on the chisel edge. You know what? It could be this script liner because it's not very good at the end. Remember, you're going outside to inside. One thing that people do that drives me absolutely crazy, and especially if they're borrowing my brush, this is a flat brush right here. So I'm just going to wet it in some water and I'm going to demonstrate. When you go to clean your brush in your water container, it's not doing this. You're damaging the bristles, you're splaying the bristles open. Worst thing that you could possibly do for your brush. You want to go back and forth really hard in the water container because you want to make sure that you're getting the paint that's in the furrow of the brush out. Never this. Don't even pick up paint like this. I see students doing this and you're damaging your brush. If I was a brush retailer, it wouldn't matter, but I'm not. So I'm just trying to save you some money by making sure that you don't do that. Okay? Really hard. You can take a bar of soap when you're finished, drag it across a bar of soap. If you have stubborn paint that's dried up in the furrow of your brush, take hand sanitizing gel. Make a little puddle, go back and forth. You are going to be amazed at how much paint comes out of that brush. Then make sure that you rinse it really, really well. I'm now going to show you how to use a foliage brush and a rake brush. So I'm going to put down 2 colors of green onto my palette. This is a foliage brush. Very stiff brush cut on an angle. Comes in different sizes, great for making trees. When you're using this brush, you're going to put it in your water container and you're going to let it absorb the water, and then you're going to come onto a piece of paper towel and take the excess of the water out. The trick is you want this to be splayed open. Do you see how these bristles are all open? That's what we're looking for. So I'm going to go into my dark color first. All I'm doing here is I'm pulling from the puddle of paint. That's it. It all becomes how much tapping you do, and here comes the bush. Just picking up some of my purple wet paint that's there, but that's okay. I find when I'm teaching that my students will do this. Their brushes are all loaded. So I'm going to come right here and show you. And they're doing bushes. So here's their bushes. Well, they just look like little fences in a row. Think of nature. I'm a huge gardener. When I started painting, 15 years ago now, I started painting because I wanted to paint my aluminum shed because they're so ugly. And now my neighbor has that shed. She loves the painting on it. And I just look at it and go, man, that's really, really bad. So see, it's all in how you're tapping. If you have too much paint and you do this, that's the look you're going to get. So it's a very light touch. I'm going to come back with my lighter green and I'm going to highlight this. You can't see it, so I'm going to go into white, maybe a bit of yellow on a dirty brush. And now I'm highlighting, not everywhere. You need to have the dark to show the light. If you don't have dark, it's not going to show up. I'm going to add a little bit of red. Let's make this a fall bush. There you go. Notice that I'm not coming along and going like this and filling this all in again. You're creating individual bushes. So it's here and there. That is a foliage brush. A deerfoot is the same kind of thing, except a deerfoot looks like an angle brush, but you can create the same thing. What I'm picking up now is a rake brush. They look like they have teeth. The bristles are all cut on different lengths. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pick up yellow. This needs to be inky as well, because the trick of using a rake or the Princeton Filbert brushes that look like rake brushes is you have to see the teeth. So I'll come here and I'll show you that you can create fur, eyelashes, long grasses. Add some green. This is called a rake brush. If you have too much, and I'm going to go into the dark green, if you load this brush like this, and you cannot see the teeth on the brush, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get big, thick strokes. I've even seen students where there is no teeth showing at all. Here we go. Here's a good example. Can we see? Yes. You don't want that look. It takes too much work. It takes too much time. It's sticking to my surface. See what happens? Or if you have it inky, they're nice and thin in between. I'm going to take this page off. And I'm going to show you how to create a tree with a fan brush. Don't wet this when you start. I like to use these dry. I'm going to come in and I'm going to fully load this brush in the dark green. I'm going to start right here so you can see this really well. I'm going to tap it. That's the top of my tree. So I'm going to emphasize it so you can really see it. There's the top of my tree. You take the corner of the fan brush. So here's the fan. You're taking the corner and you are going to start tapping sideways until you come and use the whole flat of the brush. So that's a pine tree. If you wanted to have the bristles going up, you would push, start again on the side, but you would be pushing these bristles upward. So now the branches are going up versus where they were on this one, which were going down. So this is pushing upward. This is making it this way. This one goes this way. Don't forget, you want to come back in and you want to add highlights. I'm hoping that you can see this. Maybe I'll just do some white, make it look like snow, seeing that we got more snow last night. It can stop any time for my liking. I'm not a snowbird. I stay here and I freeze. I live in Cambridge, Ontario, and I would be more than happy to teach any of you how to paint in my home studio. I have had women that have been with me for 15 years, and we have a very good, relaxed time. And my motto is, when they say to me, well, it's not looking right, and I'll say to them, well, it's never going to look like mine because it's your painting. It's not my painting. As long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters. I'm now going to show you on this black canvas. I have prepped this, and I'm going to go back to my number 16 brush that I told you that I really like because of the spring that I get out of that brush. So I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to show you. This is called wet on wet. White is transparent, yellow is transparent. So what I did, I fully loaded my brush. That meant I came in here, just picked up plain white paint, came back to my surface, and put this in. I'm going to go straight in. Oh, let's use the purple. Going straight into the purple, straight up and down. That's it. Now I'm coming here and I'm going to touch and I'm going to flick it. Now it's sticky because it's drying really quickly. You want a brush that has a lot of spring. I'm going to come back over here, wipe it on my paper towel, pick up more white paint, make sure that this is wet. Oops. See, I don't worry about that. My students would, but I don't. because if I wanted to, I can make this a lot darker by just coming in with the purple and coming here and flicking it. So let's say you make a stroke and you come all the way down there. I'm going to introduce you now to another brush, and this is called a mop brush. In Canada, we call this big long thing a hockey stick. No, that's just in Canada, eh? What we call this is a hacky stick. A hacky stick is the same as a small mop brush. It's just got a longer handle, wider bristles, extremely soft. What you can do with the mop brush is you can come back in and mop that out so that you don't have such a definite line to it. If you find that you see that stroke there and another stroke there, come back in with the mop brush and just mop that out. It's getting dry. This technique has to be wet on wet. So I'll create another one here so that you can see it. Touch, bend, flick. Wipe off on a paper towel the excess. Touch, blend, flick. Flick. You can tell when I haven't wiped off on the paper towel. I didn't wipe off here, and that's why that one's lighter. You then can come back. If you're light-handed, you can blend this out. No problem. If you wanted this flower to be reversed, you again tip in the purple. You come here, touch, flick, touch, flick, touch, flick. Always think of the direction of how the petal is growing. Again, you want to soften that, just bring in your mop brush. I really enjoy paintings doing it this way. If you wanted to create another layer, you would come here, add in another petal. So let's do that right now. Wipe off the excess white. Come back in here, touch, flick. Touch, flick. If you want it darker, just touch the edge and just, oh, look it, I made a mistake. I didn't want it down that far, but no problem, we can fix it. Come back with the mop brush, blend that out. If you come down here and pull it down too far, and my students do that, come back, wipe your brush off on the paper towel, come back and pick up white, come back in here and flick the white back up. There isn't anything that you can't fix. Don't panic, it's only paint. Rome wasn't built in a day. I didn't learn how to paint overnight. Lots and lots of practice. If you want to be good, you need to practice. If you don't want to practice, you're gonna be stagnant. You'll never get where you want to go. The last brush I want to show you today is a floating brush. This is a Lone Cornell brush, and I love it. It's expensive, but I don't care. What I do is I go into my water and I blot it lightly on my paper towel till it's not shiny anymore. Then I come here, and I'm using Payne's Gray right now, and I go into the toe of the brush. You can really see that it's angled. I come here and I go back and forth very slowly. I'm going to shade this petal to show you that this petal here will be over top of this petal. So I'm going to come down here and just go like that. Do you see how it's graduated? It's not, maybe if I come here you'll see better. It's just really graduated. It doesn't give you a really harsh line. If it's too harsh, take your finger and just tap it out. That way is still a little bit wet. It's a beautiful way to define your petals, to make one look like it's over top of the other. Coming back in, I'm getting my water, I'm blotting it on my paper towel, I'm coming in here with the toe only. I pick a new spot, I don't go back to the one I was on. For me, that's just easier. I'm going to come here and I'm going to completely outline this petal. And you can see that that petal is sitting on top of the other one. It really gives you dimension. I'll show you another thing that you can do with this brush. So I've gone in my water bucket, I'm tapping off the paint. I'm just picking up white on the corner and I'm loading it just as if I was loading it with Payne's Gray. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a flip on this leaf here. So I start on my chisel edge and I push and I lift and I don't have enough paint. Touch, push, lift. I also want to show you how you can do it with a flat brush. Let me find one in all my paints here. Again, you're only side loading in that color of white. I'll come here onto this petal here. I'm going to come here, I'm going to push this over, and I'm going to lift it back up. And then I'm going to blend this all in. To really make this petal stand out now, because I flipped it, I'll come back into the Payne's Gray, load it like I did before, and come in here, and just come like this. And you can see that that petal's been flipped. And by creating the shadow underneath, I'll do one here. I should have wiped off my brush and I didn't. Take your finger. Now that's too harsh of a line and I'm not liking it, so I'm going to come back while it's still wet and I'm going to back it out. So back it out means take your brush and go up and push in behind it. Take a paper towel and lightly blot it. Blotting off the water on my brush, picking up some Payne's Gray. There's too much. There we go. It's to resemble a shadow, because after all, you've just created that flip. So ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today, and that's Sue Gait, and I'm signing out.